All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Passion team call. Super excited to chat with you guys. It's been a few weeks. It's October 11th, and I'm really excited, as you can tell. I'm going to flip my phone over so I ignore it. From leadership and everything that we got out of leadership this year. It was so amazing. So I'm just going to super quick, just give you a little rundown of everything that we kind of have going on with Team Passion right now. So there's a lot of things I want to start implementing. It's been things we've been doing, but the way some of the leaders said things, I was like, ooh, I want to do that. Ooh, I want to do that. And so I just kind of grabbed info from some of the leaders to tweak a few things. And one of them is the business opportunity. And one of them said they do a 3-day business opportunity closer to the weekend so that people are signing up when they get paid. And I was like, that makes sense. And so, I like that idea, and I think it's working really well, me doing 10-minute videos a day instead of a long 30-minute video to hop on once. So I think that's working. And then the idea is to do it either on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're going to play around with both of those. And then on that following Monday, a Getting Started Right call will be done in about 30 minutes. I'll do it this Monday to kind of give you guys an outline on how I'll do it. And then every other time, I kind of want someone to run the 3-day business opportunity with the 3 videos and then do the Getting Started Right call on that following Monday. Basically, the Getting Started Right call is going to be just explaining to the coaches where to find the coach modules, explain to them that a Coach Basics will be starting, how to get to Emerald, tell them what Success Club is, tell them how to find their coach office, kind of things like that. Talking to them about their why and how it's important to get their story out there, which we're going to learn here tonight. So just something you can just follow along the outline that's in the Coach Online office. How to do a Getting Started Right call. You could certainly just do that. There's so many tools out there on how to do that. But I want you to remember the most important thing as that you felt as a new coach, and sharing that with those new coaches. What were the most important things that you needed to remember as a new coach, and just kind of sharing it with them. The other thing, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought when I was talking about the Getting Started Right calls. The modules. We're going to be redoing the coach modules. So currently I am in a 5-star and above group with Kim Carver. Testing out the new business activity tracker with the new vital behaviors. And in that group, some top coaches have shared some really great videos. So something that I've been doing is pulling those videos and putting them in different groups. So I'm going to pull those videos and put them in the new coach module system. And make sure it's completely updated and kind of add those videos to it. So over the next 3 months or so, I think maybe I'll set a goal by the end of the year to just have those completely updated. They're still very relevant, but we're going to update those. And the Dropbox link, if you guys can go check that out in the Team Passion Coaches page for me today. This is the first time we're doing that. We're actually going to move the coach modules to a Dropbox link as well instead of a private YouTube place. Mark was like, let's just put everything on a Team Passion Dropbox link. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And what we'll do is we'll keep adding to the Team Passion Dropbox link. Right now in it is just Shift Shop for the Shift Shop. I'm not going to say that fast. Shift Shop launch. It's got before and afters in it. It has a blog that Rebecca Miller wrote for us so that you can just grab wording to post on your social media from. And it has all the challenge backpack prices and all of that stuff. So every time there's a new launch, we will put one of those folders together. If you guys want to help me put folders together for past programs like To Be Mindset, Lift 4, that would be amazing. Right now my focus is on these new ones, but if you want to help me put together the old ones, help me find some before and after pictures, we can just kind of drop those in that Team Passion folder. So those are a few of the things that we're going to start doing. Just simplify is just the name of the game. I want you to know the energy coming out of leadership was amazing. Last year's energy was hard. It was coming after a hard year, and we all gathered in the room and we linked arms and we promised to stick together and stick out these hard times. And so we did. It was still good leadership, but it was like we were all in this mode of feed us energy so we can bring it home to our team, where this year we were all ready to just receive it. And the company is up on the upswing. I loved how they outlined the next 10 months for us. Like, I was like, thank you. We actually sat in a mastermind session with the coaches that have been, we all had our own table. If you've been a coach for 1 to 2 years, you sat at these tables, 3 to 4, whatever. So I was at a table with coaches who've been in the business for 8 to 9 years. So it was pretty cool being with all of them that I don't get to see and hang out with a lot. And so we brainstormed like how to help our team with launches for the next 10 months. And we outlined calendars of like, run a sneak peek, run a Snoop group, run a maybe a 3-day refresh to get volume going, like during those slower months. Like, there was just lots of brainstorming. And Melanie Mitchell ran the meeting. And every time someone gave an idea, she was like, or you could do it this way. And I was like, okay, how about she just runs these calendars for us and hands them to us, and we'll just all do it, because apparently she's got this thing down. So we all planted that seed that Melanie Mitchell should just put these calendars together for us, because she was so good at it. But I think it'll just be really fun to kind of start doing that. I also want to pull together, we're going to go over this on the Diamond call next Thursday night, but there's going to be special Diamond calls at least once a month, so you have to be a lifetime Diamond to get on them. But I want to pull the Diamond team together to help set up these launches, set up the Snoop groups, set up the calendar plan for the 3 month. Like, we're going to just kind of really do this together as a team. So that's where we're at with everything. Stay tuned. I will keep you posted like I always do. Stay close to that coaches page, because you know, I share multiple times a day on everything that's going on. Please make sure you're posting in the announcements every day, the Team Passion Business Activity Tracker. Super helpful. I pull ideas from you guys. So it's a great way to idea share as well in that Business Activity Tracker post. So, any questions before I jump in? Because I was just talking fast. Okay. So, there was a little hiccup apparently at leadership, where there was a guest speaker that spoke to the elite coaches on Wednesday, and Beachbody fired him right after. He was supposed to speak to the rest of us on Saturday, but apparently he was very bad. He just didn't deliver at all. It was 90 minutes of, they had no idea what he was talking about. So they asked him to leave and not come back and speak to us on Saturday. So luckily, they pulled together, and all the events team and all of corporate made a ton of calls, and they got this guest speaker, Kendra Hall, to fly in and speak with us on Saturday. Her title, she is a professional storyteller. Like, that's literally her job. And she said her parents are always like, are you sure you don't want to go pursue that, you know, master's degree in something else? Because people are like, really, you're a professional storyteller? And so I'm going to go through her slides tonight and go through my notes on what she shared. So I'm going to, let me pull up my email here. So we texted her at leadership, and she sent us her slides. So I'm going to pull those up now. And sorry, I should probably have these up in the background. All right, where am I? Where are you, I mean? Let me share my screen. Share my screen. Share my screen. Okay. Where did my slides go? Oh, God. Here they are. Okay. Okay. So something that was fun. Let me just skip to kind of where she starts here. So something I want to, everyone can see my screen? Yes? Yes. Okay. It's funny. One of the first things she talks about is, why does storytelling work so well? And she said basically humans like stories. And it's funny because on the way home from dance the other night, I was telling the girls a story about that they heard me telling other parents at dance. And they were like, what is that story you keep telling about what happened to these people in Las Vegas? And so I told them the story, and I'll tell you guys it real quick. But Mark and I were sitting at dinner, and there was a couple behind us. They were coworkers. They weren't a couple, but it was a male and a female, and they were speaking, and the female kept like interrupting the male, like really abruptly. Like she was trying to give him constructive criticism, but she was like very rude about it, and she kept interrupting. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm looking at Mark across the table, and he's like, what is your problem? I'm like, I cannot listen to these two. You're gonna have to switch seats with me. I don't know what we're gonna do, but this lady's going right through me. And he's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen you like this. I'm like, I know. I'm like really bothered by these two. Like, I don't know what it was, but they were bothering me, and they were interrupting each other, and it was so weird. And they were like salespeople too, and they were talking about a big meeting that they had, and they couldn't wait. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys cannot be good salespeople. Like, I was just like sitting there like, what is happening? So I couldn't even focus on Mark. I'm like trying to have dinner with Mark, and he's just staring at me, and he's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm at this table behind me. Like, I can't focus. And at one point, the woman says to the man, oh, whatever happened with you and so when you were dating? Like, what? That kind of ended abruptly. What happened? And he goes, you know, she got a raise, like she got a promotion, and she became a VP or whatever. He goes, and she lost all her estrogen. And I was like, what? Like, what just happened behind me? And she goes, oh, explain that to me, like so calmly, where I wanted to turn around and go, what does that even mean? Like, I was like, what is that? And so then he went on, and he's like, like she got a power trip and lost all her estrogen. And he just kept saying she was losing her estrogen, and I just lost it. I was like, I can't sit here. And luckily dinner was over and whatever. So the girls were laughing, and they're like, what's estrogen? I'm like, oh God. We go with a whole nother story. But it was funny because they said, okay, Sammy, now you tell a story. Okay, Ella, now you tell a story. And so the whole ride home, they wanted to tell stories. And they're like, I love telling stories. And it's funny because my Nana used to tell them stories all the time. They used to sit with Nana and story tell, and that was like their favorite thing to do with her. And so it just clicked for me that this is why story is so important. So one of the things she talked about was humans really like stories. And she talked about the Super Bowl commercials, right? We remember the Super Bowl commercials that have a story, right? We don't necessarily remember the ones that have celebrities or in it but we remember the ones that tell a story because stories are memorable. And so everybody, for example, everybody knows my story, right? I've shared it enough times. I've shared the bankruptcy story. I've shared that we couldn't put gas in the car. I've shared, all of those stories. So you remember that part of my story as well. And stories have a unique ability to change the conversation. So when you're telling a story to someone as you're trying to sell them something, people don't buy the thing, right? People don't buy Shakeology. They buy your story that went along with Shakeology, right? Which is why a lot of coaches will tell you to stop posting, which we've talked about before. Don't post the name of Shakeology. Don't post the name Lift 4. Don't post the name 80-Day Obsession. You want to start saying things like my superfood shake, my power shake, my power green shake, whatever you want to call it, my salad in a glass, my, my weightlifting 101 program that I'm doing 4 days a week, my abs and booty program that is a little more intense than anything I've ever done. And we use these really fun, annoying bands, like whatever you want to do, but you want to tell the story of what you're doing and not be like, I drink Shakeology. Because when people Google Shakeology, one of the first things come up is why Shakeology is not worth it, why Shakeology sucks, like it's all these negative reviews is the first thing that people see. And so you don't want them Googling what you have to offer. So you want them to inquire through a personal message, what is that you keep posting about? And that's when you tell them what it is and ask them if they have some goals that you can talk about. You don't want to immediately go, oh, that's Shakeology, because again, they're going to go Google it. You've got to say, oh my gosh, this is my superfood shake that I have been drinking for 8 years. I am hardly ever sick. It boosts my immune system, creates regularity for me. I don't need an afternoon coffee anymore because I don't want to crash later. It gives my body all the nutrients it's ever wanted. How do you feel every day throughout your day or something? Do you have an issue with energy? Just ask, do you have a problem with energy? Just ask some sort of follow-up question so that you just keep discussing and you're able to keep sharing stories. One of the most powerful things about stories is they are co-created, right? Meaning you who are telling the story and the person who is listening or reading the story are creating this story together, because the person is putting themselves right in your story, right? I may say things like, 8 years ago, we were in such financial distress that I really couldn't afford to fill the gas tank. I would just have to put $10 in at a time just to get me from one place to another. I would have to watch the computer at the grocery store and put back items because I knew I didn't have enough money. I had to just pay the bills that were most important in order to keep the lights on and the roof over our head, right? And so people are starting to go, oh, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. And they're putting themselves right in your story, right? When I was telling you the story about this couple behind you in a restaurant, you may have thought of a time where someone was annoying you in a restaurant and you were trying to have dinner. There's ways that you put yourselves in the person's story, and so it becomes co-created with them. One of the problems she shared, and I am going to go through all these slides, and I'm probably going to it's probably going to be repeated in here. One of the problems is we do forget to tell our story, or it takes more work to tell our story. So she stood up and took like a selfie on stage. And she's like, I could post in Instagram, blessed, and drop the mic, right? But people are going to be like, okay, cool. And not really be blessed for what? What does this mean? You're on stage? I don't get it, right? And so she needed to tell her story. Here I am on stage talking to these amazing Beachbody coaches. Here's how I got here, right? And might share her story. And so there was a video that she shared with us. I'll see if I can find it because it was really good, about a company that she went and helped this woman that had like a startup company, and she did a video about her company of purses or bags. And she glossed over her story. And I've seen many of you do this, and I've private messaged some of you when you do this, where you allude to the story, but then you don't tell it. So basically, the woman in this video was sharing her story about her startup company, and she shared that her parents died in a car accident, and then she moved on with her purse story. And we were all like, what? How did your parents die in a car accident? What happened? Like, we wanted to know that story because that is part of her story. So make sure you're not glossing over your story, or you're not alluding to your story but then not telling it. You've got to tell it. And so every time you make a social media post, it should have a story, unless you're asking a poll or talking about something like on the cups or whatever. But if there's if you're posting a picture or a video of you working out or something, tell a story with it. It's gonna be more work, but it's going to be worth it. I'm reading my notes. We allude to the story. It isn't the magnitude of the story. This is something a lot of you will say, I don't have a story like you. I wasn't bankrupt. I can put gas in my car. It's not the magnitude of the story. It's your decision to tell the story. So let's go through these. What a story is not. A story is not a list of results or features. A story is not well-placed emojis. A story is not a photo. So the whole like let's. People don't understand what she was trying to say. A story is not a bullet point list. A story is not buzzwords or entrepreneurial jargon, right? So what is a story? A story happens in a particular moment. There is a beginning, a middle, and an end. There are emotions, not just information. And there are characters to care about and something at stake. So I'll just leave that there a minute. So you want to start with, where was I before? That's the beginning. Where am I now? Or not where am I now? How did I get here? Like, how did I find Beachbody, or how did I find this fitness program or whatever? And then the end, where am I now and where am I going, right? So you want to tell the story about the struggle, what the challenge was. Then you want to talk about how you solved it, how it helped you. And then you want to talk about the triumph at the end, right? We always want to hear the ending and know what happened. All right. Let's see if this next part is in these notes. Okay, here we go. So, finding the story. So these are going to be, we're going to find the story, craft the story, and then tell the story. So these are the types of stories that we need. We need just stories about our products and opportunity. We need stories to illustrate our lifestyle, and we need stories to lead our team. So how do we find the story? So every time you make a post, you don't always have to have it be your story, right? So finding a story, you can make a list of firsts. So this is when you're talking about products and opportunity. Make a list of customers, team members, make a list of their biggest challenges, make a list of their biggest challenges, a story of the one who got away, a story about when someone said you couldn't, but you did it anyway. I have a big emotional feeling around that. When someone tells me I can't do something, I have to prove that I can. Make note of everyday moments. So this, number 6, is like our Instagram stories. We keep sharing little snippets of our lives in our Instagram stories, and everyday moments can turn into a story. I find myself, when I'm teaching the girls some sort of lesson because of something that happened to them, it becomes a story that I can share with other people. When I was in the car speaking to Samantha about a challenge she was having, and then I can tell the story, right? So we can find stories in all of these categories. You can tell a story about, I love telling Rebecca Miller's story about how she used to eat 36 candy bars a week, and ice cream every night. And that story is, and she's lost 55 pounds and her junk food cravings are gone, and she's done it with our programs and especially with 2B Mindset. And so her struggles, where she was before, how she found her coach Cheryl, and began using these programs, and then her triumph of being free of the junk food cravings, right? And so that's why I'm always telling you guys to be paying attention in all of our groups, doing the bat, sharing. Like this week, I've asked you guys all to share on the business opportunity. Under video number 1, I told you to share your story. Under video number 2, I told you to share your fears and objections, right? So we just in these past 2 days have found 20 stories in 2 videos, right? So you've got to be paying attention to others on the team too, not just your story, not just your downline story. Because there's people's stories out there that if someone comes to me and says, oh, I work 2 jobs, it's very demanding, this is what I do, I can point them to one of you. And so that's the power of being within our team here. I'm going to move on because it's 8:58. All right, crafting the story. So she talks here about, beginning, middle, and end, and kind of crosses it off. Just because you want to think a little bit more about it. You want to set the scene, right? So what was the challenge? What were the struggles? Be very, you want to be able to share something where you set the scene and you are talking about the emotions and the struggle, and you're being very specific and strategic on what was happening, where someone can put themselves in your story. So make sure you're including all of this. You're setting the scene, the people, the place. You're including emotions, the struggle, the hope, and you're including specific strategic details. And then you want to share, okay, so we're still in crafting. Then you want to share the explosion or the decision that was made. How did you find Beachbody? How did you find Shakeology? Tell the story of how that came into your life. I was scrolling Facebook, whatever that story is. And then, so instead of beginning, middle, and end, she called it normal, explosion, new normal. And then, so the new normal is what is possible now. What's happening now? What does the future look like? You want to, when you're sharing the story, you're talking about what's happening now, but then also share like a piece of the future too. And I see this happening even more. I see especially for this opportunity. When you're sharing this opportunity, you want to say, what was the struggles, the challenge, then the decision, what's happening now, but then what is possible. Now I'm able to pay for all of my products that I purchased from Beachbody. And within the next 3 to 6 months, I want to make enough money to pay for a Disney trip, or to start paying the car payment, or start, whatever the next piece is for you, the next part of your goals. And then this is where you're going to tell your story, right? On social media, in sneak peeks, virtual events, one-on-one. When you're speaking with someone one-on-one, you want to really get into your story, as well as asking them questions, but you want to get into your story. So at the end, when you're done and you've crafted the story, and say you're about to hit post on Facebook or Instagram, and you're like, okay, what is the message I want to leave people with? What do I want them to take from this? And remember, throughout your social media, you can also just tell a funny story throughout the day, something that happened throughout the day, whatever it may be. And what is the message supposed to be in a story that maybe you're telling, that something happened to you that day? Maybe you just want to entertain them. Maybe that's your point. The message is just, or something about, like today, I could tell you a little bit about my getting caught in the torrential downpours and stepping out of my car to go to gymnastics into a ginormous puddle, and my feet had been soaking wet from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock till I got home. And the message I could leave people with, it was only water. I didn't melt. There are people who are suffering through this horrific hurricane elsewhere that my feet are wet, and that's okay. You know, and so the message would just be, don't get upset over silly things, right? So the most important story is the one we tell ourselves. We sometimes tell ourselves stories that aren't true, right? Like we tell ourselves that so-and-so is going to judge me on this. You know, and sometimes when we make a post on Facebook, we're like, oh my God, I'm going to be judged. You don't even know who you think's going to judge you. Like you're just assuming that somebody's going to judge you, but you probably couldn't even come up with a name. And if you could, then that person is always on your mind for something negative, and it's probably not a good relationship with them anyway, right? And so the most important story that you tell is the story that you tell yourself. So you want to make sure that you are telling yourself the right story. So this is all her info. She's funny. She's super cute. I started following her on Instagram, and you definitely want to follow her because she definitely tells a story every day. I'm going to leave you with something. I'll just leave this up here for a quick minute. She told us a real funny stories. The whole hour or 90 minutes she was with us, everything she told us and shared was a story, right? Let me just stop sharing here so we can stop share. Okay. She told us a couple stories, but basically this one was these people make money reselling products on like eBay or LetGo or whatever. And she shared that there was like a I don't even know. I don't remember what all the pieces were, but she shared that there was like let's say a jewelry box, because I don't remember what they were. It was like a jewelry box, and it was like an old junky jewelry box that she bought that this person bought off of someone off of eBay for like $5, okay? And it resold for like $105 because of the story that went with it. So whoever was selling it told the story of this couple who this was the first piece of first piece of or first gift that he ever gave to his love, and they, throughout the whole story that she told, and they died together holding hands or something. And so someone bought the story of this jewelry box in hopes that they will someday find true love like that, right? And so there were a couple stories like that. I can't remember them all. Obviously, that wasn't the story, but you get it. There were these powerful stories of how someone bought something for a very cheap price and then resold it because of the story that went along with it. A miniature horse was one that was like the paint was peeling off, but it had a story of a kid who owned the horse, right? So I'm going to be paying attention to all of your social media posts and watching for these amazing stories. Do not overthink this. Tell silly stories. Tell fun stories. Tell quick stories. It doesn't, every day you don't have to tell this elaborate story about Shakeology, right? One of the top coaches shared this weekend or in a video that she shares her story on Instagram twice a week, her transformation story, so that it shows up on her first whatever this is called. What is an Instagram feed called? Is it an Instagram feed? I don't even know. But like on this first part, her transformation shows up at least in that when people first come to her screen every time. And so you want to share your story often enough that it's right there in your feed all the time, your transformation story. So that may need to be shared twice a week, and you just want to tweak it a little. we have so many. Bo Eason is a great storyteller as well. I definitely think you should look him up. I know I've shared about him before, but for some of you newer coaches that I haven't, he was a professional football player, and he has an amazing story. He did a one-man show called Runt of the Litter on Broadway, I think. I think it made it all the way to Broadway, where he acts out his football career story from when he had a dream on a piece of paper at 9 years old to when he got drafted to the NFL to his injury. And he plays in this one-man show, Runt of the Litter, he plays like 12 different characters. And it's really powerful to watch. He shares a really great story about Jerry Rice and how just getting to know him and his power of his work ethic and things like that. Bo has this big, he talks about physicality and being confident when you're sharing your story. So if you're sharing your story on video, you want to keep doing it so that you get better, so that the ums go away, or the, looking away from the camera goes away. Like, you want to be in the camera, in people's face, talking to them, loving them, and just having a powerful story to tell them, so that they don't want to just click, oh, delete, or I'm going to stop watching this. You've got to capture people with the first few lines of your story, or they're not going to keep reading it, right? And so I want you to start sharing your story more. I want you to start sharing snippets of your story. It doesn't have to be super long every single day, every single post. But when you're about to share something, stop and think, how can I turn this into a story? What story can I share with this? Something as simple as a bottle of water. Like, you can share your story on how you make sure you get in all your water and why it's important to get in all your water. And, there's just so many different stories you can tell around different objects. And so I want you to start practicing. If there's something that you're like super vulnerable about, or you're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be such a good story, and then you hit post and like you're waiting for someone to hit like and it doesn't happen, let us know. Like, come into the coaches page, be like, okay, I just shared the story that I thought was amazing, and I'm pretty sure it's not showing up on anybody's news feed, because I don't understand why nobody's liking it, right? Let us go like it. Let us bring it up. Let us get it up on your feed. Make sure you're sharing your story publicly. There's nothing more frustrating for me as your leader when I go to your Facebook page and you have the two people, friends of friends is all that's on there. I'm like, oh, nobody. You gotta expand that. Again, you can do that with your kids. You don't have to have, if there's pictures of your kids in it and you're telling a story and you've got a picture of your kid, I get that. You can have the little friends of friends only. But you should have the globe there. You should change that privacy setting to public and have it be a globe. Because what happens is Cindy shares her story publicly. I click like. Amy clicks like and comments. All of Nicole's and Amy's friends then see, wait, who's Cindy? What's her story, right? We don't want to do that within us, but you get it. Like, all of Cindy's friends who aren't Beachbody coaches, and if they're going to see your post, and that's going to create them to go find you. And so that's a great way to get referrals, get shares. Plus, if you share something pretty powerful that people are like, wow, that was awesome, can I share this? You want them to click that share button, and they can't if it's not public. It'll say attachment unavailable. That's why a lot of times you'll share something from one of our secret groups and you're like, can you make that public? I'm like, I shared it in a secret group, I can't. So you just have to, you want to make sure everything's out there so that you can get referrals, so that you can gain more friends just by sharing each day these stories. Questions, comments? The stories are memorable. Stories are what people are gonna remember. They're gonna connect to. I don't know, I remember a couple years ago when I started really following Shalene and going to all her events. Every time she posted, I'm like, is she in my kitchen? She's talking to me, right? Like, she has this power to talk directly to you through her social media. So that's something you want to work on. You want to speak directly to your tribe, not the masses. It doesn't have to connect to all of us. It just has to connect to your people. I know that's something I've struggled with, like on my like page. I'm like, I try to talk to everyone because I want to make a good first impression. I'm like, well, who cares what everyone thinks? I just want to talk to the 500 people that I want on my team or something, right? All right? Was this helpful? She's obviously better at it, but so follow her on Instagram. But I really thought she gave really good tips on how to find the story, how to craft the story, and then how to tell the story, and how everything that you post should kind of have a story, you know. And it is going to take a little work, and it's going to take a little practice, and don't stop posting because you're like, oh shoot, I don't have a story. Still post. Doesn't have to be an elaborate, amazing story every time you post, but just start being very mindful of the things you post. So cool. All right, last video tomorrow will be in the business opportunity. That is going to be on, where are my notes? That is going to be, I'm going to share where I was and where I am now. So I'm going to go into a lot more detail of the money and what the lifestyle looks like and the trips. And so it's going to be a very, more of a flashy, I guess, video, but I'm not very flashy, but you know what I mean. And so that's going to be there. And then all weekend, it's going to be very like, you got to get in for the getting started right. The next 5 people that sign up as a coach are going to get a new coach package. Like I will send out books and stuff that I have here. Like it's going to be a very all weekend. Like you've got to sign up now. This sense of urgency, why their time is now, how they're going to get an extra gift from us, from Team Passion. I'll send out pumpkin shakeologies. I'm going to really pump it up all weekend that they got to get in by Sunday night, because they're going to miss out. They're going to miss out on the Shift Shop launch or getting in now to learn about the T20 launch. And like T20 launch is going to be, it's probably going to be bigger than anything you've seen in your coach time here, I'm going to guess. I think 21 Day Fix was the biggest, and I don't know if it'll quite surpass that, but Carl even said on stage, expect that we will run out of steps. Like he's like, we ordered what I think we order, but we always under forecast. So just be ready for that. You guys, we have to get people in now because we want to teach them, and we want to, this is going to be probably our first really amazing togetherness launch, like really banding together. And so I want to make sure we do it right. So awesome. You guys are commenting here. Good. I'm glad it was helpful. Yes, your puppy, Rebecca, pretty soon isn't going to be a puppy. It's going to be a big dog. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. I will get this. I'm like choking. So I will get this up and record it on the YouTube Team Passion Training channel before I close my eyes tonight. Or Mark will, because I close my eyes first. All right. Good night, guys.